Am I here? Kind of been a whirlwind day today. Hello, friends. Happy Friday. I'm experimenting with some new lights. So I have, it's a ring light, but it's not like a ring light that you use for live streaming or recording. It's my bathroom makeup mirror. It's on a stand. It's got, the magnified side and the regular side, but it has the ring light all the way around it. And it occurred to me that, oh my goodness, with all this problem I've had with lighting and, you know, getting something that balances out the background with the foreground, let's try that. And I think when I look at it, I think it makes a difference. Can you see the reflection in my glasses? So it looks like the ring lights that you see people using when they do live streams and podcasts. So I hope it will be a fun and interesting show today. Let me get my water and coffee and everything all set up. I might get a swig of water too. All day long I've been feeling really thirsty. So it's not quite as hot today as it's been the last few days. We've been in the triple digits most of the week, but I know today was only forecast to get up to like 95 or 97. Let's see what it actually is. Oh, and yeah, we're having a cool spell. Come on, catch up. Can y'all see that? That's one drawback, I guess, to the ring light is that there's too much light. Oh, you can kind of see it there. 90 degrees. Can you see that? It's 90 degrees right now with a real feel of 98. So obviously we've got some humidity. Let me get rid of that. I didn't look at what the humidity is, but just trust me, there must be some humidity if it's only 90 degrees, but the real feel is 98. So a little bit of a hodgepodge today. And again, I'm trying out some new things. I think I have all of my graphics and stuff set up and ready to go. So I can't promise it's going to be as smooth as I think it will be one day, but I'm really trying to master some live stream podcast type stuff before Southern Mama and I do our first true crime co-host show. That'll be coming up sometime next. Oh no, this is August already. So sometime this month already. I think she needs a couple of weeks to prepare, and so hopefully we'll have that done before August is passed. Otherwise, I have some other things that we can do. But today, again, it's just a little hodgepodge and some. I don't know that anything is controversial, but some theoretical stuff. You may or may not be into it. You may or may not believe it. But I think it would be fun to talk about it. And at least then if it really is legit, none of us will feel silly then one day when, it comes true. We'll at least be prepared. We will have at least been aware of it before it happens. So, not a lot to report from here at the ranch. The animals are doing well. Richard and I are doing well. So let's just start a live stream and see what I have on the menu for you today. So up first, again, I have these. I thought I had these in the order that I wanted them, but I'm gonna do them in the order that I kind of practiced them. And so there'll be some questions here and there. I've got to stop being distracted by being able to see myself in that mirror up there since the camera's right here. So apologies if it doesn't look like I'm looking at you. I'm just, again, being distracted because I see the movement in that mirror. I guess I could block the mirror somehow and just have the ring light. I'll play with that in another stream. But let's let me get my microphone. Yeah. All right. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thanks to those who are. Let's put this up. Where is that? Oh, Thanks to those who are watching with me live, and thanks to those who are going to be part of the rewatch crew after the stream ends today. This will be, again, a regular thing. I'm going to go back to doing Friday live streams. Richard and I are doing live streams now on Thursday evenings. But my Friday live streams will always just be devoted to either a single topic or some hodgepodge stuff like we're going to do today. And then I'll have book club probably once a month. That will also be on a Friday. And sprinkled in here and there, we'll get that true crime stream going with me and Southern Mama. We've already got our first topic lined up. I think it's going to be a fun time. Not as serious as some of the things we might cover in future episodes, but I think it'll be a good kickoff target. So again, thanks for watching with me live. If you're here live, keep in mind too that we are on a journey to 3,000 subscribers, and once we cross that 3,000 subscribers mark, and it looks like it's going to hold, we're going to have a celebration stream to give away some prizes, just to thank everyone who's helped us get where we are. I'm sure I'd be a little bit farther along, but I took a substantial break from YouTube just due to some family stresses and issues that were going on late last year and into the first part of this year. But it's exciting to be back, and there are days when I just feel like I'm overflowing with stuff I want to do on the channel. So bear with me as I find my sweet spot for what's easiest to do and what's most enjoyable to you. But I hope that today's stream is going to be one of the enjoyable to you listed items. See if there are any other banners I need to put up for you. I don't think so. So let's see what we have on today's agenda. And the first thing I have is in the realm of science, particularly brain science. If you missed my silly little short video on Wednesday, it was made because it alluded to this particular topic that we're going to talk about today, among others. So this has to do with whole brain emulation, or WBE, and let's talk about that and see what that really means. Let me get rid of that so I don't accidentally put it up again and find my brain upload info, and let's see what we can learn about this barrier breaking science. This is there are some things here that are on the list of I just can't even believe it's real, but it's real. So let's see what we've got. I guess I could have left that graphic up, but today we're talking about uploading your brain. Let's see. Hang on, I gotta find my notes again. I have notes because I've got like 6 topics I want to talk about today, but I gotta get in sync with myself. Okay, come on, notes. I think I accidentally closed that page that had all my notes. So bear with me. I'm going to go back to that. And it's funny, I have my headphones on. Oh, did I not turn them on? Maybe that's why. That way I can monitor like the volume of the music. I don't think I turned them on. Oh, come on. Okay. Look, I thought I was ready. I've just even been here for 10 minutes or so before the stream started because I thought I was ready already. But let's get these on because I'm thinking the music might be kind of loud because I can hear it through my speakers. I don't know why that wasn't my first clue. Okay, so I'm going to turn the music down. Was it too loud? You guys let me know. I guess I could turn on a volume somewhere else. Well, I think we're going to be okay. And we're going to talk about whole brain emulation. All right, where's that section of my notes? I didn't think to print these. I guess that might have made a little more sense. But whole brain emulation involves uploading your consciousness to, whatever servers and storage facilities can manage them. And it is the digital replicating of a human brain to continue conscious existence beyond biological death. So the first thought I have when I think of this, I don't watch that Futurama show, but I have seen that Futurama animated show. And I want to say that concept is explored in that show, isn't it? That, like I remember an episode where there's a brain or a head. It's a head of someone inside like a glass, like a bell jar. And it can talk. And if I remember the episode correctly, that's what that's about. That it was someone had like uploaded their being, their consciousness into a computer, and then they just live forever. And that's kind of what the whole thing is about. So there is some real science behind it. Again, it really is being worked on. Neuroscientist Randall Keene has laid out a roadmap for WBE, suggesting it may be possible sometime between 2070 and 2100. Seems like a really great big span, but I guess that indicates just how involved this process is and what it's going to take to make it happen. If they're already working on it now, but they don't expect it to be a thing until then. It will require high resolution scanning of the brain down to the synaptic level. I don't know what they used to scan it. My research didn't tell me that. Translating neural structure into computational architecture, so like 3D models of the anatomy inside your brain, I guess. And then simulating that onto advanced hardware. There are companies working on that now. You may have heard of Neuralink. I think that is an Elon Musk company, and it's a little farther along in the process as far as brain-computer interfacing, and he has already made great strides in helping people restore function for limbs that don't work anymore, or paraplegics, quadriplegics, that kind of a thing. And I can't remember when I saw a video, but I saw a video that I think was a Neuralink, like a promo, that someone that had been injured in an accident and couldn't walk anymore got this Neuralink, like a bionic suit thing. And again, just by controlling things with their thoughts, they were able to walk again. Which to me, that should be the purpose of technology. I mean, there's always the possibility that something bad can come of it. I know that. But I wanted to pull up the Neuralink website. We'll look at that for just a second. Share screen. Can I not do that while I'm on this one? Oh, I got to separate it. Let's put it over there. Okay, now let's see. What is that? Okay, I just wasn't on the right thing. No, that's StreamYard. Here we go, Neuralink. And so you can go to Neuralink.com and get all kinds of information on what they're doing, how they're doing it, ways that you can help if that's something that you're interested in. And it's exciting. I mean, you couldn't have convinced me, 30 years ago that this would really be happening, even though we were seeing TV shows and movies and things that touched on this kind of technology. It's really becoming every day. I did do a stream where we talked about how science fiction has influenced modern living and technology and communications and medicine and pretty much everything that makes up our lives on a day-to-day basis. And there's another company that's doing this kind of work, and it is called Nectome. And this one was really weird and interesting to me. Let's put this over here, and we'll share that one, because if this is the one I'm remembering, they're doing research on a very, very small organism because it's easy, and they've already done it. They've already mapped out the genome of this organism, and by learning how to manipulate and access neural pathways and stuff in this organism, see if this is the right one. If it's not, there's one other company. I bet it is the other company because I just thought of what the name of the other company is. But again, here's another one that's working on like memory preservation and accessing the parts of your brain that allow you to move and operate your body. But let's look at this third one. I think it's called Open Worm. Okay, yeah. So again, they're using this tiny creature. I can't remember what the whole name of that is, that the C stands for. They also have opportunities for you if you're interested in contributing to the research, or you've got a background that would lend itself to that. So these three companies, I'm sure there are many other ones, but these three companies right now are kind of at the forefront of perfecting the technology and the hardware, everything that would need to happen one day if this whole brain upload thing really comes to pass. But obviously, there are questions associated with that. 64% of people said they would not upload their minds even if it became safe and legal, according to a 2023 Pew Research poll. And the reasons cited were fear of identity loss, religious concerns, and mistrust of the tech companies. Valid concerns, but just like so many other things that have been introduced into society that people were wary of in the beginning, one day it'll just be commonplace and no one will even think about it. Even smartphones now. It was such a novel thing as we were getting to the point that they were coming out. But now no one even questions it. It's expected that you would have a smartphone. I know this may be a bigger deal than that, but I found some other questions in doing my research. And one of the big ones was, if your brain is copied, is that you, or is it just a duplicate of you? Is it really you? Like, if you can upload your brain into whatever server, is it still you? How much is connected to there being a physical body that houses your consciousness and your memories and your preferences and quirks? Is it still you? These are big philosophical things on top of the already big scientific stuff that is involved. And if consciousness is preserved, can you still feel boredom? Because boredom isn't a physical sensation. Could you still be bored if you didn't have a body, but your consciousness was still alive, so to speak? Could you still feel pain? Would there be ways to still experience pain? It's deep, right? Would you upload your brain if it guaranteed digital immortality? Would you want to do that? And I don't think I would want to do that. I wouldn't see a purpose in doing that. I don't know what anyone would gain by me staying around somehow after I'm gone. Well, I'm going to take these off now because now I don't think I need them. I don't even hear the music, so I hope the music's not too loud. Let me turn them off. Oh, I want to turn it off. I don't want standard mode, whatever that means. So, some questions to think about. Let's move on to our next item on the list, which is, this is a weird one. So, hey, Connie, thanks for being here today. So don't get offended by anything we're going to talk about today. I just wanted it to be an anything goes. Have you ever heard of this kind of a stream? This was new to me. This is objectphilia, which is also known as, oh, let me get back to my notes. Have you heard of that, though? Are you guys familiar with that? Oh, I went too far. Are you familiar with that term? Which it's really bad too, because I have this one sheet where I was keeping notes for several different like shows and things I want to do. And as I would think of something else or some research would lead me to another thing, I just would put it on my list. That's why I'm having to scroll through all these notes. But objectphilia is sexual orientation involving a romantic or sexual attraction toward an object. Again, I had never heard of this, but it's a thing. While rare, it's been documented in case studies and pop culture, often viewed through a lens of neurodivergence, especially autism, or trauma and social isolation. Some psychologists suggest objectphilia may be linked to anthropomorphism, which is giving human traits to inanimate objects or animals, non-human things, and synesthesia, while others view it as a type of identity-focused orientation. In several cases, objectophiles describe their relationships as mutual and emotionally fulfilling, not as a fetish. Connie has heard of it before. I really had never heard that word. And if you go to Merriam-Webster, the online dictionary, and type that word in, it even tells you that word doesn't exist. So I think maybe this is just a newly studied thing. And then here are some examples of real people and real stories surrounding this this orientation. Erica Eiffel from the U.S. is a former competitive archer who married the Eiffel Tower in 2007. Hey, Kevin, thanks for being here. And I'm going to, apologize if anything I say or the way I say it comes across like I think it's weird. It is very strange to me. I'm going to admit that. Again, this is very new to me. I'd never heard of it until I was looking for just stuff you probably haven't heard of. That's what I was shooting for today, or that you're not real familiar with, even if you've heard about it. But this person married the Eiffel Tower in 2007. She said the structure gives her comfort, strength, and intimacy, and she took the tower's name as her own. Again, her name is Erica Eiffel. Then there is a woman from the UK named Amanda Liberty, who is or was engaged to a 1930s chandelier named Lumiere. She says it gives her warmth and sparkle that no human could match. Here I go again with a hair in my eye, just in time for the stream. Next we have Aja Rieda Berliner Mauer. She's from Sweden, so my apologies for probably butchering that name. She claimed to have married the Berlin Wall in 1979 and was devastated when it fell. She said it was a deep betrayal. She identified as objectum sexual. That was the orientation. That's the term she used for her orientation. And finally, we have Carol Santa Fe from the U.S., who is in love with San Diego's Santa Fe train station and visits her spouse daily. She claims they've been spiritually married since 2015. Some argue these cases reflect society's loneliness crisis and breakdown in traditional intimacy. And I would venture to guess that's definitely a factor, right? The emotional toll it can take on you to be isolated or without support or intimate connection with someone. Who's to say over time what that might make you seek out to find some comfort and satisfaction and connection? Others celebrate them as authentic expressions of non-traditional identity. Studies are limited, but many objectophiles describe intense emotional bonding similar to human relationships. It's often associated with monotropic attention, which causes deep emotional focus on a single thing. Now, I'll say now, I'm very interested to see that the examples that were provided or that I came across, they're all women. Not saying anything one way or the other about what it means. That's just very intriguing to me. So if you had to marry an object, what would it be? What a weird question, huh? If I had to marry an object, what would it be? An object, so not an animal. If I had to marry an object, maybe I would marry a piano. But I'm not as close to the piano as I used to be, since I'm still not spending very much time playing it. So think on that. If you had to marry an object, what would it be? And there was a reference made to, oh, my microphone's falling. Hang on. There was a reference made to a character that Joaquin Phoenix played, I guess, in a movie called Her or Lars and the Real Girl. I am not familiar with that movie, so I don't know. I guess I'll have to look that up and see what the example is there. But yeah, think on that. Tighten this back up. And now let's see what we have next. Let's take that off. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. Time travel theories. So let's see. Let me share with you what now. I mean, I'm kind of familiar with this because, again, this is a very fascinating topic to me. And I love movies about time travel. The original Time Machine is one of my favorite old movies. I've never believed it could really happen or has really happened. I have a fan blowing on me, and I'm pretty sure it either blew an eyelash into my eye or it blew something else into my eye. So I'll be distracted by that for a little while. But here are some time travel theories that might not be totally nuts. The physics behind time travel is not questioned. It's based on Einstein's theory of relativity, which allows for what's called time dilation. And time dilation is represented by concepts like, the faster or the closer you travel to the speed of light, the slower you age compared to everyone else that's not traveling the speed of light. And that concept was confirmed in 1971 with atomic clocks that went up in jets. And it was noted that the clocks on the jets did tick slower than the clocks back on Earth. Now, we're talking slower, like 1,000th of a second. We're not talking, they came back and they were 5 minutes behind where everything was on Earth. Another of my favorite movies is Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey. I love Matthew McConaughey anyway, so no surprise that I love the movie. But that movie obviously deals in part with this very concept. And so, hopefully without spoiling it, he leaves to go and help save the planet. And when he comes back, he's still pretty much the age he was when he left, but it's been 50 years when he gets back to Earth. So his daughter's on her deathbed. I think it's been 50 years. Maybe it was longer than that. And that has a great love story, personal relationship message in it. So it's another reason I love it. But there's just some great hard science behind that movie, and some great special effects. So if for some reason you haven't seen it yet, put it on your watch list. And also there is a theory about wormholes. You guys may have heard of wormholes, also known as Einstein-Rosen bridges, that are theorized pathways that connect distant space-time points. If stabilized, they could allow time jumps. Another of my all-time favorite movies is Contact, again with Matthew McConaughey and Jodie Foster. Again, some great real science in the movie, but a great and powerful story of family and relationships and truth-seeking that goes way beyond the scientific or science fiction and special effects. But she travels through a wormhole, in the second half of the movie. And it's just fascinating to me. It's more fascinating to me to allow my brain to accept that maybe really this stuff is going to happen one day. Not enough that I would want to upload my brain, so that I can be around to see it. Because the bigger part of me doesn't think it can ever happen. But what a neat thing to think that it might. So Kip Thorne, who is a Nobel Prize winner, proposed transversible wormhole, or traversable, you could travel through them, wormholes in the 1990s, but said you'd need exotic matter or negative energy to keep them open. I did not learn where exotic matter would come from. I don't think you can order that anywhere. But that's, I guess, his explanation for why it's not already happening. So Ronald Mallet, another scientist, he's a theoretical physicist, has designed a basic concept of a time machine using circulating lasers and gravity fields to warp time. These are like movies. I'm like reading about movies, right? Isn't that what it sounds like? That's crazy. And then, of course, Stephen Hawking. Everyone has heard of Stephen Hawking. If you haven't, maybe it just means you're not as much into science as I am. But he once threw a time traveler party and sent out invitations after it happened. No one showed up. He called it proof that no one has cracked the mystery of time travel yet. And I think that's true. I didn't come up, and none of this that I found sounded like it was false. There are some historical time travel claims on record. One of the most famous being John Titor. He was an alleged U.S. military time traveler from 2036 who appeared on message boards in 2000. His predictions were vague but eerie, such as civil unrest in the U.S. and tensions with Russia. And some of this kind of stuff is like horoscopes in the newspaper, right? If you can learn how to make a statement in a way that it could be true, maybe it's not, it might apply to you, maybe it doesn't, it could involve a lot of people, maybe not. That's part of what I think we're up against when we come across, reported incidents or stories about theoretical things. But that's his story in the timeline of time travel. And then Rudolph Fentz, and a man who was hit by a car allegedly hit by a car in 1950s New York City, dressed in 19th century clothes with coins and ID from 1876. This story was debunked, but still makes for a great campfire tale and kind of fuels the interest, I think, in this topic overall. And the chronovisor, and I have heard of this, is a device supposedly created by the Vatican in the 1950s that lets users see past events. That's also a hoax, but the conspiracy does not die. That lives on. I guarantee you can get on YouTube or Reddit or any other place you might explore weird stories, and you'll find stuff about the chronovisor. So with time travel, one of the things that I have always heard and believed makes it impossible or really dangerous, even if it were possible, are like some paradoxes. The grandfather paradox may be the most well-known one. The what if you go back in time and you kill your grandfather, or you do something that prevents your grandfather from meeting your grandmother, and then you're not born? What happens then? Or like the butterfly effect, where you go back to the age of the dinosaurs and you step on a bug, and then the whole chain of events leading up to the time you came from is different. There's a great movie with Franco. It's one of the aren't there two brothers that are actors? James Franco and somebody else. Maybe it is James Franco, and I think he's in it. And I think it's called 1964. Why do I think it's called 1964? That doesn't make sense, because I think the movie maybe deals with going back in time to prevent the Kennedy assassination, so it couldn't be 64. Maybe he's in 1964 and he goes back. Anyway, it's just a neat movie because, again, it explores some of these concepts. There's also the bootstrap paradox, which asks what happens if you go back in time and give Shakespeare his own plays. So you've got them because they've already been written, and you give them to him. Then where did the original ideas come from for the ones we have today? So if time travel really existed and it was a safe thing to do, and they worked out all the kinks, would you go back in time or would you go forward in time? Where would I go? I think I would go forward in time. I think I would. I really want to know if we're going to make it to Mars. I mean, I've been thinking about that since I was like 6 years old. So I really want to know that. I'm sure there are other more important things that I should want to know. But since we're kind of in the science world right now, that's one thing I think I would like to see if I could time travel. Again, not enough to upload my brain. I don't know what that is. That's just creepy to me. And could time travel already exist, but governments are hiding it? And you guys know I love a good conspiracy theory, right? Is it a thing already? Are these people that had their stories that made my list today, could those people really have been, at least the ones that haven't already been debunked, that John Titor one? Because I don't think his story's been debunked yet. But let me know. Let me know in the comments, or let me know after the stream, the comments under the video. Would you go backward or forward? And where would you go? So if you could just press a button, like in that old Time Machine movie, he just set the dial to the year he wanted to visit, and that's where he went. So let's see. Let's get rid of this one and move on to the next one. Take this off. This is a good one. Again, I'm going to hopefully not ruffle too many feathers. My goal in the world is not to make everybody happy or make everybody love me or fix everybody's problems or understand everything about everybody, even myself. But this is something that I've thought about. And so it came up when I was just doing my research on, just conceptual things to think of, the what ifs and the do you think and did you know. So here's one for you. This one has to do with requiring whether it would be a good idea or a fair idea or a helpful thing somehow to require politicians to have to pass a basic IQ test before they can even run for office. Now, there's some legitimate um, reasons for asking the question. So this is not about. I don't even know that it's so much about IQ, because I do think that IQ only measures a really small part of intelligence. Okay, and I've always said I was a very good student. I was a straight A student, honor student. Top 10% of my class when I graduated. But a lot of things that I learned, I remember even at the time feeling like I didn't really learn them. I have a great memory. At least then I had a great memory. So I could memorize things. I could memorize sequences and formulas and vocabulary, definitions and spelling. And I think that's a fine line between just learning and remembering it. The show Jeopardy is a great example of that, because I don't think that the people that get on Jeopardy, like I used to think the people that got on Jeopardy were just brainiacs, right? They're just so smart. But if you watch Jeopardy long enough, at some point you have to consider that they're not, I mean, they might be smart also, but they also have the ability to hold on to just a lot of trivia, right? So you don't have to know, what movie won the Academy Award in 2002 for Best Picture. That doesn't mean you're smart, right? You get where I'm going? Or if, it's a baseball stats question or something. And usually there's a mix of things. So there are some things that you would have to be smart or have a background in a specific subject or have some level of education beyond what the regular Jane or Joe might have to know what the answers or what the questions are for Jeopardy, stuff like that. So I do believe there's a difference. But I think I understood when I came across this what this was getting to. And we'll cover that here in just a minute. But so the big question is, it's a mix of humor and outrage and real concern at times. Should elected leaders be required to meet minimum standards of intelligence or cognitive fitness? And on the surface, I would want to say yes. They're dealing with, at times, matters of public health and national security and international relations and things that you would not want someone that didn't have all their faculties or a good command of the language and rules of order and things like that, potentially making decisions or helping form policy if they weren't at least a little bit more gifted, if that's the word. So the U.S. Constitution only requires that federal politicians meet age, citizenship, and residency requirements, with age just meaning they have to be older than, a particular age. I don't think there's any limit on the higher age but not education or cognitive criteria. In 2023, concerns about cognitive decline in aging politicians sparked headlines, partly because Senator Dianne Feinstein, who was 90, missed months of service due to health and memory issues. Mitch McConnell froze during live press events at least twice. And then Biden and Trump, 81 and 79 years old respectively, both even now face ongoing questions about cognitive clarity. And if you've ever spent time with older people, it's not unusual that you just reach a point where things do not flow very smoothly anymore and connections are lost. That's part of, again, what some of these companies are working on is restoring or maintaining brain function and memories and all the things we need to be able to function properly and be healthy, happy, and well. But a Pew survey study in 2023 showed that 68% of Americans support mandatory cognitive testing for candidates over the age of 75. I don't have a problem with that. Just like I don't have a problem with like drivers, older drivers. I would not think it's offensive or unfair to have an older driver. I don't know what that age would be. 75 may be a good age. I mean, I'm about to turn 63. I think I'm still pretty functional. I think I'm still pretty with it. But, like mental illness, just like mental illness, the mentally ill person doesn't always know they're mentally ill. So how am I going to be objective about when and if my abilities slack off enough that I might need a little help, or I might need to have some restrictions? So I don't have a problem with that at all. Now, I don't know what a cognitive test is like. I don't know, what does that mean? What do they have them do? Because again, when you're talking about high level leadership in government, there are just some really potentially serious and sensitive subjects that are going to come up that have to be handled right. Otherwise, 330 plus million people could be wiped out. You know where I'm going with that? So I don't know, how do you do a test to ensure that is not going to happen? Does any test ever really 100% ensure that something bad is not going to happen? Gallup found that only 9% of voters believe most members of Congress are highly qualified to understand and write laws about science, technology, or AI. Now, some of these things, as we've advanced in those areas, I don't know how you would, at some point you just have to have this mass turnover, which we may need in the government anyway. Again, don't mean to ruffle any feathers, but I do support term limits as well. Because that's a valid point. Wouldn't it suit us all better to have people who are knowledgeable and experienced, maybe have a background in some of these potentially dangerous, nation-crushing technologies and concepts involved in making decisions about their use or their support? Or whereas if you're 90 years old, Dianne Feinstein, and I'm not saying that there aren't older people that are still super sharp and with it and aware and up to date on things that are happening, but I don't know that represents the vast majority of people that are 90. We can't all be George Burns. So only 68% of Americans support mandatory cognitive testing, and only 9% of voters believe that most members of Congress are qualified when it comes again to policy and laws related to 21st century stuff. There's no law against illiteracy, lack of education, or even mental illness in the U.S., though the 25th Amendment allows for incapacitation removal at the presidential level. But again, obviously behavior indicates a lot of what could be a problem. So what are your thoughts on that? Obviously there's always going to be a downside. You got to look at the potential for harm. And so some of the controversy and counterpoint positions revolve around discrimination. So intelligence testing itself has a dark history, probably all over the world, but for sure in the US here, that's tied to racism, eugenics, voter suppression, things like that. And there can always be a bias in IQ tests. A lot of critics say that IQ does not measure leadership, morality, or emotional intelligence, like I touched on earlier. And some argue that it could unfairly disqualify neurodivergent candidates. So it's a slippery slope. And who decides the cutoff? And who do we test? Do we just test the executive branch of government? Do we test judges? Do we test CEOs of companies? We all know that they don't have a whole lot of sense when it comes to everyday living. If you've been following that story. Do we test voters? And that's always the danger, is taking it too far and somebody gets hurt. Um, so let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. Should cognitive testing and/or IQ testing be required for people who want to run for public office? I mean, a big part of me wants to say yes. But it's not because I think we have stupid people, like intellectually stupid people. I think there's some stupid people in government because they just don't want to see the big picture, or they're so full of themselves they can't see the big picture. They're the only thing in the picture. But that's not stupidity. That doesn't have anything to do with IQ. So I just don't know. On the one hand, would it make any difference? Now, the cognitive tests, obviously, I know we all have seen examples in the last couple of years for sure, where there have been questionable behaviors and things that, roused concern among the populace. But there's one for you to think about. Let's take this down and see what we got coming up next. This next one is fun too. And I've been on a soapbox about this next one for a while now. All right, this is
here to talk about artificial intelligence. Have you heard in the news about deep fakes? It's where you very carefully place one person in a video with another person using artificial intelligence. It is real, but there's a lot of misconceptions about this technology. First, you take a person's face and you mark the points around their face, like their chin, the corners of their mouth, the corners of their eyes, and then you can map those points to another person so that you can swap out one person for another. You can see this on a technology like Snapchat, where you're adding maybe a goatee to someone's face or you're putting food on their head. A funny example of seeing this technology in action in a deepfake is the video Full House of Mustaches. Check it out. The big worry about the deepfake technology is that fake news could result in this. You could have a politician saying something that they didn't really say and have that be broadcast. But the reality is that so far, this has only been used for comedy, or to show what the technology can do. Here are 3 things to reassure you. The first is that politicians are very interested in creating legislation that protects them from deepfake technology. They don't want to be seen saying something that they didn't actually say. The second is that technology companies are identifying videos that are created with this technology and then can remove them automatically. And the third is that people are thinking critically about these technologies and they are aware that they're happening, probably because there's some funny content out there. So stay vigilant, have fun, and be aware of deepfakes.
So you can visit the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics website or YouTube channel here. I'm sure they have a website, ncssm.edu. But that's becoming more and more of an everyday thing. And again, I've really been frustrated and kind of sounding the alarm, so to speak, for probably 6 months or so, because I have, again, like friends on my Facebook that I grew up with. So we're all around the same age. And I worry, again, I already worry, as we get older and connections maybe aren't so strong and we're not as aware, we're not as quick to, connect the dots. And I'll see someone share. One thing that got shared a lot was this, some kind of a spider that opens up this flower thing on its back. It's not a real spider. Y'all, I know spiders. It is not a real spider. And the person that I saw share it, she's like a wildlife photographer and is pretty knowledgeable about animals. And that just made me feel really bad. I mean, it's not that it necessarily hurts anything that somebody would create this video of this beautiful creature, even if it's not real. And I know we all go to the movies and watch a lot of TV shows that include that kind of stuff because of that, because it's got the stuff in it that's not real and it's beautiful and it's imaginative and creative. But my concerns continue to be based primarily on the fear that at some point we will become so accustomed to believing the fake stuff that's out there, even if it's just a spider or some kind of bug that lives in, India or someplace that we're not going to go anyway, that we won't know the difference when the dangerous, the really dangerous things come on. When we're getting information about something we need to do or something we shouldn't do, and it's not real. And I know, we all know that, there's a significant portion of the population on Earth that devotes a lot of time and energy and money to creating ways to hurt people and steal from them, or take their identities, or wipe out their bank accounts. And so this is in that same vein of some of the AI. Now, it was probably more than 25 years ago, and I don't remember what made me say it, although Arnold Schwarzenegger's coming to mind. I want to say it was around the time of one of the Terminator movies. And I remember saying to, various people that I believed a day would come when Hollywood stars would sell the rights for their likeness, or a character they've portrayed, but it would be their property, and they would sell the rights to their image and their voice, everything about them. And studios could pay then to use them in their movies. You could have the same James Bond for 100 years because the studios would pay for the likeness of, whichever James Bond is your favorite James Bond. And then they would never have to worry about replacing characters and making some people unhappy because they don't like the new person that took over the role. And so again, about 25 years ago, I think I first started saying, I think that's what will happen. And for the, the celebrity, for the actor in that situation, what a great deal. It's a guaranteed income for his family for eternity until, those movies, that character's gone, or there's just no interest anymore. New people come along that maybe are more desired for whatever reason. But you can see now how easy that would be to do. I have a picture. Let me show you. Let me find this picture that I'll show you. Because before I found that video, and I should have put up my little, no, I did. I did put up the little blurb to tell you where that video came from. But let me show you this picture. It's just a simple example of how things can be tweaked and made to look different. Now, this one, it does look like it might be the same person, right? In each side of this. But I found lots where it's not even the person. The original person is not who they turn it into. It's a man who then gets turned into Angelina Jolie, or vice versa. And that's what the lady in the video was talking about, that they plot out points on the face from the original person that they can then match up to the same points on the face of the other person that they want to look like the original person. And you don't necessarily know the difference. So let's get some stats and stuff on deepfakes. Let me take this off. And let me talk to you a little bit about deepfakes. So deepfakes are synthetic media where AI manipulates audio, video, or images, or all three, to realistically simulate a person's likeness or voice and create events and stories, scenarios that aren't real. That's what bugs me. I don't have a problem with going to the movies and seeing CGI, and that's not how it's being used most of the time now. So this tech is based on deep learning, especially generative adversarial networks, or GANs. And regarding some real world incidents now, in 2024, a deep fake video of President Biden seemingly saying he wouldn't run for re-election circulated just days before Super Tuesday. The FTC and FBI launched investigations, but the damage had already been done. It had already hit the polls. And this is according to NBC News. In 2023, a fake Joe Rogan podcast promoting a crypto scam went viral, generated entirely by AI using cloned voice and visuals. And in 2022, President Zelensky appeared in a deepfake video telling Ukrainian troops to surrender. It was quickly debunked, but it showed how such tech could be used in psychological warfare. That's where I'm going with this. If we get so accustomed to seeing fake stuff and thinking it's real or not being able to tell the difference, what happens when the right or wrong person or whatever decides to use it to really do some harm? How will we know? So there was a 2023 study done that discovered that 96% of deep fakes online were non-consensual pornographic content, mostly targeting women. It didn't specify what that means. And that deep fakes are doubling in volume every 6 months. That should scare you. Again, this isn't because somebody's making a movie. I mean, they're making movies. They're making their little fake movies, and it's like everything else. There's always a downside. Medicine is such a great example of that. Pharmaceuticals, drugs, what a great example. They have such a power to cure and heal and alleviate pain or stress or whatever other ailment you're suffering from. But look at the continued epidemic of drug abuse and addiction and dependence and death and destruction that's still happening now because of drugs. You know, how do you balance that? This is no different, in my opinion. So as of 2025, AI voice cloning scams have cost businesses $26 billion with a B dollars globally, with many used to trick employees into transferring funds or leaking passwords. Now, the U.S. Deepfakes Accountability Act has been reintroduced in Congress, but has stalled due to free speech concerns. I really have a problem with it. I do not have a problem with free speech, but I have a problem with that being used as a stall tactic. I don't know. Again, where's the line? It's so hard to know. When it's obvious that something is fake, I don't, and some people would say, well, what does it hurt? What does it hurt if there was that video of that fake spider that made a flower on its back? What does that hurt? It doesn't in and of itself, just like fentanyl in and of itself doesn't hurt. If you're the one that's licensed and educated and experienced that's using it. We used fentanyl every day for surgery for patients in my office. It was part of the sedation cocktail. But now, what do you know about fentanyl? So this is no different to me. In and of itself, it's not this, it's the way it's being used. And I feel like that's what this Accountability Act is addressing. But somebody somewhere wants to say that it has to do with free speech, that showing fake scenes. I'm going to refer you guys again to a movie that I've talked about before that's called Wag the Dog. I think Dustin Hoffman is in it. It's probably back from the 90s. And it kind of touches on this. It's a great movie. But again, at the time, it was a very new idea, the premise of this movie. And it's terrifying when you really step back and think about it. And some of that is already happening. I just promise you some of it's already happening. There always must be an enemy. The powers that be, I think, totally operate on that belief that there must be an enemy. We must make sure that the people have an enemy, that we have identified an enemy. There must always be an enemy. That's why we can't have peace. I'm getting too deep here. China and the EU have passed stricter labeling laws requiring synthetic media to be marked, but enforcement is inconsistent. And I don't think they are up against this whole free speech thing that we would have to contend with here if somebody really wanted to take a stand. So let me know, have you seen a deep fake video that you knew, like you could tell somehow, or word got out that it was not real? It's everywhere, y'all. I tell you, it's everywhere. And how did it make you feel when you realized it wasn't real? Especially if when you first saw it, you thought it was real. What does that feel like then when you discover it wasn't even real? Maybe you made a decision, or you bought something, or, you know, because you thought it was real. And then you find out it's not even true. So if you can't believe what you see and hear, who do you trust? How do you know? Where's the line? And what can we do about it? Would you be okay with your voice or your likeness being used for entertainment or marketing or propaganda or anything, with or without your permission? Would you be okay with that? Wow, this is a deep show, isn't it? Okay, so now let's see. Our last thing we're going to talk about today. Let me first get this ready to go, and we're going to talk about simulation theory, or the simulation hypothesis. Have you heard of it? This is kind of a new thing to me. I mean, I might have heard about it a little bit somewhere in the past, but it's catching on a little bit more, and it's really interesting. Again, it's kind of sad and terrifying to me at the same time. If nothing else, so many of these things just make me appreciate that I have a very simple life here, and I can focus on, you know, my animals and my garden and making sourdough bread, and at least things that are real to me, and I'm just doing it because it makes me happy. But let's look at this last out there topic.
What if I told you that everything you see, touch, and experience is not real? What if our entire universe is nothing more than an incredibly advanced simulation? The idea that the universe might be a simulation isn't just the stuff of science fiction, it's a hypothesis seriously considered by some of the brightest minds in physics and philosophy. Let's dive into simulation theory and uncover fascinating implications. Simulation theory suggests that our universe could be an artificial construct created by an advanced civilization. One of the most compelling arguments comes from philosopher Nick Bostrom's simulation argument. Bostrom proposes that at least one of the following statements be true. Humans will go extinct before becoming technologically capable of creating simulations. Advanced civilizations will choose not to create simulations, almost certainly living a computer simulation. Concept better, think about video games. In games like The Sims or Minecraft, entire worlds are created with their own laws of physics, ecosystems, and characters with seemingly independent lives. Now, imagine a civilization so advanced that it could simulate a universe with conscious beings. Let's visualize this. Imagine a computer processing unimaginable amounts of data, rendering galaxies, stars, planets, and even us. Every interaction from the movement of a galaxy to the blink of an eye is governed by lines of code. While some scientists and philosophers support simulation theory, others are skeptical. Critics argue that the computational power required to simulate a universe is beyond comprehension. Yet, as technology advances, what once seemed impossible is becoming increasingly plausible. Let's break this down further. If we are in a simulation, it could explain certain anomalies in our universe, such as quantum mechanics' strange behavior, or the fine-tuning of the cosmos. These could be glitches or design choices by the simulator. What do you think? Are we living in a sophisticated simulation, or is this just a philosophical thought experiment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's explore this mind-bending topic together.
Okay, that was our final one. So let's talk a little bit more about simulation theory, or the simulation hypothesis. It proposes that our reality could be a complex computer simulation designed by an advanced civilization. Sounds like that's a science fiction movie, right? This was famously formulated by philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003, as referenced in the video. I don't know, it was very choppy on my end, so apologies if the videos are not coming across to you smoothly. And let me take my banner down. I want to make YouTube aware that these are Creative Commons videos, because we all know how they are about copyright claims. It argues that at least one of three possibilities is almost certainly true, which leads to the idea that we likely live in a simulation. Proponents of simulation theory include Elon Musk, who has suggested the odds we're in a simulation are extremely high, around 99.9%, or 1 in billions of a chance that we're living in base reality, meaning it's a super low possibility. So I like Elon Musk. I know he can be a controversial figure, but I never get the impression he's like out to get people. And I do think he's super smart. More recently, University of Portsmouth physicist Melvin Vopson proposed the second law of infodynamics, claiming that observed patterns in information entropy suggest built-in data compression akin to simulation optimization. So in the little short video, the guy talks about like pixels in a picture, how every image is made up of pixels. It's kind of spooky, isn't it? Critics argue there's no scientifically testable hypothesis, calling it more philosophical than scientific and possibly a wasted exercise in speculation. A 2025 ARXIV frontier study, I don't know if that's how that's really said, or if it's AR14, I don't know, XIV/frontier study by Francesco Vazza et al. Calculated that the energy cost to simulate even low resolution real world physics is astronomically impossible under the known things about physics, making such a simulation highly unlikely. So my issue with that, if I really want to, dip my toe in this water, is if it's advanced beings, though, that aren't bound by our current level of knowledge or understanding of physics or, relativity or whatever, then why should that matter? Unless I'm just not understanding what this guy's saying. So Bostrom's argument, this Nick Bostrom that came up with this theory, is that if future civilizations can run many ancestor simulations, if future civilizations can run many ancestor civilizations or simulations, simulated conscious beings would vastly outnumber the originals. So statistically, we'd likely be in a simulation. So if there's, ancient advanced beings that created all of this, or coded all of this that we experience and think we're tasting and feeling and seeing and hearing and smelling and all of that, and if, there are people from the future, here's that time travel thing again, that are also doing that. There's all these people creating all these worlds and existences and consciousnesses, and is that a word, consciousnesses? Right, there would be so many little characters that just the numbers, it's true. Then the numbers themselves would just sort of lend themselves to the high probability that it's a simulation. And then there's the Mandela effect, which I'm sure you've heard of. where shared false memories like Berenstain Bears versus Berenstain Bears. I did think it was the Berenstain Bears. Who remembers that? Anybody else remember that? Oh, let's go here. Berenstain or Berenstain. There's lots of Mandela effects. You could spend 2 weeks watching 24/7 of Mandela effect videos on YouTube. Or deja vu. You know, those all spark debates about reality glitches in the simulation. There's another topic you can search for in YouTube: glitches in the matrix, real-time glitches or real-life glitches. So have you had experiences that make you wonder if that could be what they're pointing to? And when there are these glitchy things, or you've got a Mandela effect memory about something, is it just a little short wire in your brain? Is it just a coincidence? Does it matter? Does it matter? Does it even matter if we're in a simulation? Would you choose to stay if you found out your life was a simulation? Would you try to hack it? So if you haven't seen the Matrix movies, that's what the Matrix movies are about. And I loved those movies. I mean, y'all, I love Keanu Reeves. Haven't I said that 100,000 times here? I love Keanu Reeves. I'll watch anything with Keanu Reeves. He's on my list of, like 3 or 4 actors that I literally would pay to go watch a movie where he just sits and drinks a glass of water and reads the newspaper. He doesn't have to speak. He doesn't have to move around. Just let me look at you for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Neither here nor there, but the Matrix movies. And I think that's part of, they had great special effects and the acting was good. Everything technically was perfect about the movies, but the premise of the movies, I think, is what really spoke to a lot of people. The what ifs, oh my goodness, I never thought of this before. Could this ever be a thing? Is this what's happening? So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Because this Nick Bostrom guy proposed this concept in 2003. I don't remember when the Matrix movies came out. I think it was after that, wasn't it? So, again, would you choose to stay if you found out it was a simulation? For me, again, I think I would just think, what does it matter? I'm going to continue to focus on the things that bring me joy and ways that I can connect with other simulated beings, to have some sense of purpose and sense of fulfillment. And what does it matter? And stay away from the deep fake stuff. Maybe that's deep fake. Maybe this whole simulation theory is a deep fake thing. But that's my show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. One of my favorite things is just to find some out there topic. Sometimes it's something that maybe I've heard of, but I've just really not looked into it very much. Other times it really is something that I've never heard of before. What things were on the list today that I'd never heard of before? Was there anything on the list I'd never heard of? Let me go back to the list. Let's see. Because I've heard of simulation theory. Again, it's relatively new to me, but I have heard of it. The brain upload thing. I don't know if I've heard of it, or again, it's just been a part of movies and stuff, I think, that I've seen, or I talked about seeing that character in Futurama. Let's see. Time travel, again, I've heard about it, so it wasn't necessarily new to me. The politicians having to take cognitive tests. Yeah, that was something I hadn't considered before, or not consciously considered before. I'm sure on some level I've wondered, how do these people get in office? How do they stay in office? Shouldn't somebody be measuring some sort of functional parts of their behavior? Oh yeah, so the people marrying Eiffel Towers and stuff. Yeah, that was new to me. Okay, that was new to me. That's not anything I would be interested in looking up again. And I don't imagine, I didn't come across like numbers. And I think it said it has not been widely studied because I don't think there are high enough numbers to really study it. But I don't think it's something that uh, is prevalent. I don't, and I'm kind of a live and let live sort of a person. I don't have a problem with how you want to do things, as long as it doesn't force me to do something or infringe on my ability to do what I want to do. That's kind of where I draw the line. So I don't have hangups about lifestyle choices or orientations or um, that's not my place to decide because it doesn't impact me. Maybe that seems silly. That's just how I see it. That's how I've always seen it. Let's see if there's anything else. Deep fakes. I was aware of deep fakes. Again, I've been concerned about that for a long time. I think that was everything. So yeah, that Marian objects was an eye opener. But it keeps life interesting, right? If at some point we come to learn that it was all a simulation, then some of these strange things won't matter at all, right? That's just somebody that got bored writing the code for the simulation at some point and said, "Ooh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write code where people marry the Berlin Wall and trains and stuff." That might actually explain a lot, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that just solve a lot of mysteries to discover at some point that somebody's just been making all this up along as we go? Hang on, babies. Look at them. They know what time it is. We'll go out in just a second. Okay? We'll go out in just a second. You want to say hi to everyone? Bear is here to say hi to everyone. Say hi, friends. That's my boy Bear. So, be back Thursday night. Richard and I will be live again. I think we're going to try to play some kind of a game or do some kind of a challenge. Just so we can make it fun for us. I like to talk, so that's not a problem. But he is not much of a talker, and I'm always a little bit stressed out during the streams because I'm talking. And I'm guessing if you ask him, he'd probably say, "Well, man, I don't need to talk because you're talking so much." But he doesn't talk anyway. Like, we don't sit around just talking, and I wish we did. My son Gerald, that's been some of my favorite memories with him, is that he would come over and we would just sit and we would talk about like some of these wackadoodle things that I was just reading to y'all about. And he would say, "Yeah, I saw this video on YouTube about simulation theory or whatever." And then we would talk about it. But Richard doesn't do that. I think he may come around because he did talk more in the stream last night than he's talked in the streams before. So if I can get him to do a challenge or a game or something with me, he's always a little bit more involved. But wow, talk about making huge strides. For years, I tried to get him to do videos and live streams with me, and he just wouldn't do it. He just wouldn't do it. So I'm happy that whatever happened, so that he rethought that and will spend some time with you guys with me. Maybe that's because he knows how much I enjoy it. And he thought, well, let me go see what this is all about. And I think he's actually having a fun time doing it. So I know he wouldn't have done more than one video if he wasn't enjoying it. So we'll put it that way. Anyway, so be watching Thursday. I'll be back again next Friday. I don't know what we'll talk about yet, but I'll have that thumbnail and a topic ready for you guys. I always have a list of stuff I'm working on. So I'll just have to pick something, see how much I can find to share with you to make it fun. I hope you had a good time today. Let's get some more banners going here. Again, another reminder that when we hit and cross that 3,000 subscriber mark, we're going to do a prize stream where we spin for prizes. It'll be all kinds of different stuff, just as a thank you to those that have helped us get where we are. And if you liked the show today, please smash that like button. Share it with your friends if you will. If you haven't subscribed and you come across this video meeting me for the first time, I'd love for you to be in my little YouTube family, and you can do that by hitting the subscribe button. That'll also get us closer to our 3,000 subscribers so that you can then join us for a prize stream. It will be a subscribers only prize stream. Duly noted, right? Let's see. Oh, as always, if you need to reach me, there's my email address. Thanks again to those that were able to be with me live today. Thanks to those who are watching as part of the rewatch crew. Leave your comments after the stream as well. All of the things, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, obviously, are what YouTube looks for so that they can decide. I mean, it's not like a person, it's just a computer. But then the computer then will like put a video of mine on somebody's recommended page. The subscriber number even is as big a deal as just having people see my stuff. That's why I'm putting it out there, so that people can watch it. And okay, I don't think I have any other banners to share with you. So I'm happy you guys were here for the first Free Thinking Friday. That's going to be the theme for at least half of the Friday shows. And I'll keep you updated on when that first true crime episode is going to start. And I'll be doing my next book club episode a little bit later this month also. That'll also be on a Friday. So bring your favorite books, bring your favorite titles and authors so we can talk about that together. I had a blast doing the first one last week. And that's all I've got for you. So, be safe, be happy, be well. I love you all. Every minute I spend with you, whether it's a simulation or not, is a blessing to me. So I thank you for that, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.